Greetings metalheads and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George and today I'm going to be reviewing a little festival that I attended yesterday in Camden, London, UK, England, if you want to be really specific. Saturday the 13th of May to be very precise in fact, so it was Incineration Fest, a festival that I have been doing a few sort of reviews in anticipation of, like bands you need to hear episodes, recommending some of the choice acts from that exquisite lineup. And it was a really good lineup, really stellar lineup. The main headliners included co-headlining slots from Marduk, Swedish black metal brutes, and Norwegian progressive black metalers, the mighty Enslaved. Elsewhere on the lineup, we had US brutal death metal godfathers, Suffocation. We also had Asphyx, we had Celeste, Profanatica, we had the mighty Rotting Christ from Greece, we had Witch Sorrow, we had Devil Master, so many amazing bands, essentially all on that lineup. The festival, Incineration Fest, took place across 4 different venues in Camden town. So we had the biggest venue being the Electric Ballroom, a venue that I actually visited yesterday for the first time. I'd never been to the Electric Ballroom before, but actually I thought it was a really good venue. It's a very interesting layout where you've got one wall of it being sort of mirrored, so it kind of gives the impression that it's way bigger than it is, but it's actually a good venue. I thought it was good. Production-wise or sort of sound-wise, it was really good as well. So pleasantly surprised by that. The other venues were the Underworld. We had the Black Heart and the Dev, which I'm not familiar with, but I've never been to the Underworld and I've also never been to the Black Heart. So been to countless gigs, but I've never been to those particular venues. And I very nearly made it to the Underworld, but not quite. So essentially, I wasn't able to get there for when the festival started, when Incineration Fest kicked off yesterday. Sadly, I was unable to meet that because I was at work elsewhere in London, attending a clinical event. I don't work in London, but happened to be having to work in London Friday and Saturday morning, so was conveniently placed to make a quick dash over to Camden after work. Wasn't able to catch those first bands though, which is a little bit of a shame. I did, however, arrive at the Electric Ballroom for just shortly after the start of Celeste. Their set had only been going for maybe 5 minutes or so. I was really not sure what to expect. I knew that they were playing at that time because I knew that they were the band on before Asphyx at that particular venue, Asphyx being one of the main highlights for me that I was most excited about. But I thought, well, I'll get in there, get myself orientated, get myself sorted, and catch a band. Now, I'd read about Celeste. They're from France. They're kind of a black metal hybrid band. They incorporate a lot of different elements in there, such as sort of sludge and it seems like hardcore as well. So it's not just conventional black metal, if you like. It's not your Dark Throne or your Emperor. It's got a little bit more to it, a little bit more modern, let's just say. I was really impressed, I have to say. It was very strange because it was very dark. It was almost like dim or dull lights or low lighting. And they're wearing red head torches, which immediately just struck me as being a little bit kind of odd, a little bit kind of trippy. If you were on drugs or drunk, I should think that you'd be quite perplexed by what you were witnessing. I was quite perplexed, and I wasn't on drugs or drinking. Unfortunately, I had a 2-hour drive home after Incineration Fest, so I was not able to partake in the beverages. A great shame, that is. However, I thought they were a really good band, and I'll definitely be checking Celeste out more. They had some really interesting parts that were more conventional black metal, and then there were some great chugging, sludgy riffs, really abrasive moments. Really good stuff. So I'm definitely going to be checking them out, familiarising myself with some of their albums because, like I say, it's new to me. I've never heard them before, heard the name, never actually heard their music before. So once they were done, it was only a half an hour wait, 30-minute wait, before the mighty Asphyx took to the stage, and it was a superb performance of just pure Death Doom brilliance. And it's a really humble setup as well, because you had the band themselves, band members themselves, setting up their equipment, doing their own sound checks. Martin van Drunen, vocalist, doing his own sort of sound check as well, testing the mics. A little bit of crowd interaction, a bit of banter. It was really quite a humble thing, but they clearly had an absolute whale of a time. They clearly had a great time. The crowd were fanatical for it as well. There were circle pits, mosh pits opening up left, right, and centre when those chugging riffs were just coming in waves, surges of these brilliant riffs. Amazing set list as well. I did try and find a set list online just to kind of confirm a few things, but I know for a fact, I couldn't find the set lists, but I know for a fact we did have a whole host of amazing material. We did have some material from their newest album, Necrosaurus, and they were great tracks. I believe we had Botox Implosion, which is a pretty fast bruiser, but we had other fan favourites as well. We had the obligatory Death Hammer. We had Death the Brutal Way. We have Wasteland of Terror. And then they closed the set out with The Rack and Last One on Earth. Two amazing classic Death Doom tracks. Musicians were tight. The band were tight. Sounded brilliant. Those riffs are just so crunchy. It was fantastic. It really was an absolutely superb set from Asphyx. And I've wanted to see Asphyx for years. Never quite had the chance. But at 10 to 4 on that Saturday afternoon, on yesterday afternoon, finally had my chance, and it was brilliant. And like I say, Martin, he was clearly having an absolute whale of a time. He was clearly loving every moment. The bands, you could see they were really, really taking on, feeding that energy, and because the crowd were fanatical for the mighty Asphyx. And like I say, such a good set list. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Pretty sure we had Forerunners of the Apocalypse. Can't be entirely sure, but sometimes it's difficult to distinguish some tracks live. But you know what? It was an absolutely amazing show. Absolutely brilliant. So Asphyx absolutely crushed it, in my opinion. Then, again, it was a short 30-minute wait. I did consider trying to see if I could go to one of the other venues in my naivety, but I think I'm just going to stay put, considering that the next band was Rotting Christ. Now, Rotting Christ, for me, are an absolutely incredible band, and a band that I have really wanted to see live since getting into them. I think that they have that kind of presence. There's that kind of mystery and darkness about them, the aesthetics, almost the theatrics, that a band like Behemoth have, in my opinion. And I really wanted to see their live ritual. I really wanted to see them command that stage. So I made sure that I was nice and close for that one. And boy, was that a show. That was an amazing performance. Rotting Christ from Greece. If you're not familiar with them, then you should definitely check out the bands you need to hear recommendation video of Rotting Christ, because they are a black metal band, but they incorporate lots of different elements in there, certainly the older material, their earlier catalogue, because these guys have been around since, well, the band has existed in some form or another since the late 80s, I think 1989. So these guys are seasoned musicians, led by Sarkis Tollis on guitars and vocals. These are very talented and adept musicians, delivering extremely good black metal, Greek black metal. A very, very prosperous scene, the Greek black metal scene at the minute, and over the last however many years it's been really flourishing, and Rotting Christ are pioneers in that scene. They're very unique, very hypnotic, and kind of encompassing, encapsulating sound and style. Again, the crowd went wild for Rotting Christ, absolutely fanatical. There were walls of death, there were mosh pits, and on the surface, you don't necessarily think that black metal, with kind of melodic and melodic elements with kind of gothic elements. You don't think that's going to attract such fervorous response, but actually people went wild, and it was amazing. You couldn't help but just draw on that energy yourself and go crazy. And we had some absolutely brilliant tracks. I can't pronounce a lot of those song titles, so I'm not going to. But we had Fire God Fear from their latest album Heretic, and what we did have was a couple of tracks from my favourite Rotting Christ album, certainly at the minute anyway. Cataton Amona A Toy. Now, probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but that's my interpretation. Anyway, so we had the title track from that particular album. We also had the absolutely superb Grandis Spiritus Diabolus, which closed out the set, and that was majestic. That was heavy as hell. Those riffs are amazing. Sarkis's vocals are powerful. He's got energy behind his raw, harsh vocals. It's not just a black metal shriek. It's not a death growl. He's got his own harsh delivery. Elsewhere, we had a whole host of other brilliant tracks as well. Amazing material, including the title track from the classic Non Serviam. Absolutely brilliant stuff. The crowd went wild. Such a brilliant performance. Really was one of those shows, or one of those sets that you witness, and it's almost a bit surreal, because you've listened to those albums, you've listened to those tracks, and the same could be said for Asphyx as well, of course, but certainly very, very prevalent when I was watching Rotting Christ, that you know those tracks, you know those albums, but you are actually seeing it being performed, and you are absorbing those vibrations. You are being subjected to this beautiful black metal, this beautiful music, and it was absolutely incredible. It was a really eye-opening, awe-inspiring set. I wish it could have been longer, and I'm sure Rotting Christ share a similar sentiment to that as well, but it was just an amazing show. Absolutely fantastic. Blew the crowd away, and blew my mind. So, Rotting Christ, if I had to rate that as a live show out of 10, that's easily an 8. It was absolutely amazing. Same with the mighty Asphyx. So that was 2 sets in. Now my intention after that, as Rotting Christ finished their set at 6 o'clock, simultaneously, or coinciding, if you like, starting at 7 o'clock at the Underworld, just round the corner, we had Suffocation. So I've had a bit of a strange relationship with Suffocation over the years, because I've always been aware of them, and I at one time was really quite into their earlier albums, Effigies of the Forgotten and Breeding the Spawn, and then kind of just sort of drifted away, then kind of picked up with some more recent albums like Pinnacle of Bedlam, then drifted away. Never did I actually really delve into their catalogue, just kind of picked bits and pieces here and there. But over the last few months, I'd say, I've been gradually getting more familiar with some of their other albums and getting a bit deeper into their material, such as their live album, Live in North America, which is the last live show to feature the great Frank Mullins on vocals. That live album is an absolute killer. Spoiler alert, but might be more words on that album coming soon. So I've been really getting into them, so I thought I really want to catch them. Because although I'm going to be seeing them in June at the Colchester Arts Centre, which I'm really looking forward to, I want to make the most of the festival, make most of the opportunity, and catch them. The plan was then to be back, leave a bit before the end of the Suffocation set, be back at the ballroom to get a good spot for the mighty Enslaved. However, that was not going to quite work. Rotting Christ ran over just slightly, and by the time you actually get out of the venue itself, you're talking about 10 minutes. So it was getting on towards 6:15 by this point. Once I'd walked around the corner and saw the length of the queue to get into the Underworld, beg your pardon, to see Suffocation, it became evident that by the time I'd gotten in there, it would probably be time to consider leaving. I might have caught 2 tracks and then ended up having to queue for a while to get back into the Electric Ballroom to then see Enslaved. So I made the executive decision to just head back inside the Electric Ballroom cut my losses on this occasion, so apologies Suffocation for not making more of an effort to get in there and catch you guys, but you know, I just couldn't risk being stuck right at the back for Enslaved. So predictably, the venue was really quite quiet actually in the Electric Ballroom, because you had half an hour or just over half an hour before Enslaved came on. So I was able to actually just walk straight down to the barrier, to the left hand side, if you like, if you're looking at the stage there. So up close and personal. So I just parked myself there, enjoyed the DJing in between the set, which was basically just Blue Oyster Cult tracks, which was really good. Listening to Harvester of Eyes and other such classics was a very enjoyable experience. Prior to that, I should mention we did have Grutel actually setting up, again doing sound check with his with the own sort of electronics or some sort of synths thing. I'm not really sure what that particular device is, but turning it made synth noises, so a synthesizer? I'm not really sure. Whatever it was, he was setting up that. Again, really humble. You've got the actual members setting up or helping to set up their own equipment. It's humbling. It's humbling stuff. So anyway, 7 o'clock, showtime for the mighty Enslaved from Norway. If you're not familiar with Enslaved, again, you can check out the bands you need to hear recommendation video that I've done recently for the mighty Enslaved. Essentially, they started out as a more of a typical black metal band from that scene, that growing, expanding second wave of black metal scene. But then they did evolve quite rapidly. They rapidly evolved into a pioneering Viking metal band, more akin to the mighty Bathory. Then they kind of evolved again. They went for another evolution. So although they had incorporated progressive elements into their black metal and into their Viking metal, they became what was more definable or more recognisable as progressive metal. And then over the years again, they have come out of the other side of just being more progressive, and they've really combined all of their elements of their career, all those different sounds together. So there's black metal sounds, there's Viking metal sounds, and there's progressive metal sounds as well. So it really is now, anyway, a real accumulation of all of those learned experiences and learned skills and styles. They've really evolved, and they're kind of drawing on all of their different strengths, which is really refreshing. So the Enslaved of 2023 is a really, really advanced, really capable, really talented, and just brilliant band. And I've never had the opportunity to see them. As I've mentioned a few times on this channel recently, they are quite a new venture for me over the last couple of years, tops. Since I have gotten into them though, absolutely love Enslaved. It was brilliant being down the front, although I am slightly deafened today. My ears are still ringing a little bit because they really did bring it, I have to say. We had a really interesting set as well. So Enslaved were playing from 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and they had an hour set. They played not that many tracks because, of course, their tracks do tend to be a bit longer, but they focused mainly on their most recent material, and then we had a couple of little gems thrown in. So I'll take you through their set list in a little bit more detail. We had opening tracks from Utgard. So this is the album before the most current album. So this was 2020. Now this album, in my opinion, and shared opinions of a lot of Enslaved fans, really did bring the heaviness back. Although albums like In Times are heavy, I feel like this was a notch above in terms of heaviness and in terms of incorporating more of those sort of black metal elements or aggressive elements. But they played 2 tracks from this album. We had Yetagreita, second track from this album, and then we also had Homebound as well. So we had 2 tracks from Utgard, both absolutely brilliant. It really did hammer home. It was heavy, it was abrasive, but it's progressive and it's intricate and it's beautiful. So it really was a stunning performance of those tracks. But what I was really hoping for because I know that there's been a lot of talk of them doing, or I've seen a lot of things about Enslaved doing older material, going right back to the first album, and also playing albums like Below the Lights, again in full, at this year's Damnation Festival. So, but what I was really hopeful for was that they were going to be playing some tracks off the absolutely stunning new album, Heimdall. Now, this album I absolutely love. This is a fantastic album. It's so intricate. There's so much going on there. It's incredibly heavy. It's one of the heaviest Enslaved albums of recent years or recent albums. It's also stunningly progressive and beautifully intricate with synths and soundscapes and different textures. But we really do get a really good mixture. And they actually played 4 out of 7 tracks from this album. The tracks from this album they played include Congelia, which is the second track, which was really heavy. At first, I almost mistook it for an early track, because earlier on in their catalogue, because it was very abrasive, and it had that kind of that rhythm or that melody to it that some of their early material certainly carried very prominently. They also played Forest Dweller. Before that, they played Kingdom. And then towards the end of the set, they played the title track, Heimdall. And all of them were absolutely stunning. Absolutely brilliant. You would have thought that they had been playing those tracks live for decades, because it was just clean delivery. There was no stuttering, there was no stammering, there was no false starts or anything like that. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely amazing. I was chilled to the bone, hairs standing on end. It was absolutely amazing stuff. They also treated us to a very crowd-rousing and pleasing rendition of Havenless from Below the Lights, a classic Enslaved track and a fan favourite from a fan favourite album, and it was a folk metal, Viking metal, black metal beauty. It was absolutely amazing. The crowd were loving it. It was very, very responsive when you've got that sort of chanting, that folk chanting at the beginning and end of the song. The whole crowd was just engaged in that. It was just fantastic. It was really, really stunning. But the real treat, and a curveball that I was really not expecting, was a track from the Great Hordanes Land EP. And I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation again, but they played Alfor Odin, however you are meant to pronounce it. That second one there. Absolutely amazing. It was really good. It was really, really, really just quite an eye-opener, because it was old Enslaved, it's black metal, it's raw, but it's got those progressive elements in it. You could see hints, even at this stage of Enslaved, where they were going to go. It was all there to some degree or another. And it was brilliant, absolutely amazing. It was heavy, it was just mind-blowing black metal, dark and beautiful at the same time. Absolutely amazing. Enslaved really did bring the house down. It was fantastic, and I'm so pleased that I got to see them, paying the price, being deaf, and the throat is a little bit sore from shrieking out and screaming those words back, but hey ho, that's all part of the fun. So Enslaved are amazing. That was easily, again, that's an 8 out of 10 set, maybe even an 8.5 or 9. It was fantastic. The seasoned musicians, really good banter or crowd interaction from Grutel, and Ivor is an amazing guitarist, a kind of solemn man, you know, not a huge amount of crowd interaction, but he's clearly in the element there. He's clearly just enjoying the atmosphere. Brilliant stuff. The whole band are such talented musicians as well. Guitarists, the drums, fantastic stuff. Absolutely amazing. Enslaved was sadly the final band for me of the night, as unfortunately I had to cut my evening short, but it's no great loss. Family commitments, you know, we all have responsibilities, and to be honest, although I only saw 3 bands, I was more than satisfied with what I had seen, because there were 3 amazing sets from 3 incredible bands. 3 bands I've never seen before. I've seen so many bands, so many gigs I've attended, but I have never seen Asphyx, Rotting Christ, or Enslaved before, and I'm so pleased that I have now been able to, because it was amazing. Absolutely stunning stuff. Loved every minute of it. All I can say is that it would have been great to be able to see the mighty Marduk, but as I say, you know, we all have responsibilities. Sometimes things don't work out the way we want to, but just on the strength of those 3 sets, I am more than happy with my trip down to Incineration Fest 2023. It was an amazing time. Everyone's in good spirits. Everyone was having a good time. The crowd loved every minute of it as well. It was just a great night. I did consider purchasing one of the great designed Incineration Fest t-shirts with the lineup on the back, but I thought, I feel like a bit of a fraud as I only saw those 3 bands, so I did pass on that. However, what I did pick up was one souvenir, if I remember where I put it, from the Cult Never Dies merch stall, and it is relevant as I did see them there. Asphyx Necroceros on tape, and this is a nice little souvenir, number 39 of 250. So it is a limited run, nice black tape, and I'm really pleased with this. This is a really nice little thing, and I'm going to enjoy listening to this later. Nice little Asphyx tape. Necroceros, that's my little souvenir. That fit very neatly in the breast pocket of my patch jacket. The patch jacket which I've been showing you in the stage by stage production lately. That was its maiden voyage, my new jacket. Its first trip out was to Incineration Fest, so it has been christened well, and that pocket was just the right size for a tape. Very nice indeed. So there you have it. Were you at Incineration Fest? Did you enjoy the time? Did you enjoy the show? Who did you see? Did you catch more than you expected? Did you have to miss out on anyone? Interested to hear the experiences of others attending Incineration Fest. Thank you very much for watching my review. I know, didn't quite catch all the bands that I was hoping to, but I had a damn good time, and I'm sure that everyone else did too. But thank you very much for watching. Feel free to comment, feel free to like and subscribe. It's always very much appreciated. Take care, my friends. Check back soon for more reviews and recommendations. And, as always, take care and stay heavy.